Howdy. Nice to see you again. New art, new concept, new sound, new song, new everything. Story time. So in the 90s, times were good, cell phones were rare, video cameras were non-existent unless you hired one, which is incredibly expensive. I was about yay big, and my life was about two things. This was the very first day I got my guitar, 10th birthday. Less than a month later, this one was made. So, like, I have a guitar that is as old as my playing, which I'm pretty stoked about. Anyway, while I was getting obsessed with the guitar, I was also jumping downstairs, jumping over my friends and doing all sorts of things on rollerblades. Times were good, but unfortunately there's no video, or I couldn't even find photos of me on rollerblades, but I lived on wheels. Like, it was an extension of my body, and it still is. Anyway, I had a really bad fall 2011 or something like that. I couldn't walk properly for a little while. It was very uncomfortable, and I donated my skates, and like a month later I regret that. And so for years I sat on the idea and was like, oh yeah, one day I'll get another pair of rollerblades. Slowly getting older, joints slowly starting to hurt more for no reason. And I went past the half pipe at Epping. So I don't know if you guys are aware of it. I don't know. It's this massive half pipe. It is beautiful. It is like, it's 3 meters tall. It's just got a nice smooth slope. It's made out of metal. Like, it's, if you fall on it, it's not like falling on concrete. It's just great times. And I looked at that and was like, well, I would love to ride that one day. Terrifying, but you know, like, if I can get a pair of rollerblades and then drop in on that, like, I will have faced the ultimate fear. The previous biggest thing I ever rode was Warren Pond Skate Park as a kid. It would have been like 12 or something like that. And I honestly can't remember if I dropped in or not. I definitely sit in, so like sitting on the edge and then like, and I remember that being terrified, and I don't remember if I dropped in or not because I'm pretty sure I lied about it and then believed the lie. 20-something years later, I decided to give Epping a go. I made a bit of a progress report of 11 days of doing this every day, getting up to doing stuff like this. And I wanted to try and find some other skaters because there's old school knowledge out there. There's been no competitions, like X Games dropped rollerblading, and the industry kind of fell out of it, so I haven't been paying attention. I made the second video, which it's got my favorite song that I've composed in the last 10 years. It's called Brick Walls. Super fast, it's the craziest, hardest thing. Absolute mess out of it because I haven't practiced it in many a year, but the main kind of guts of it is something like nope, nope, nope. No, I can't even remember how it goes. Like this. Super crazy, super hard to play, and I figured it was nice and fast paced, and it would sit right with this particular song. Yeah. So I posted that onto the Facebook group and made a bunch of connections with the West Side Scum Dogs, which is a rollerblade group. It's all over Melbourne. And Nick is like a unicorn, so just like old wisdom, old knowledge, like, and he's happy to share, just absolute god of the community.
I'm not God, I'm Nick.
So I met up with him and them. I skated the Paran half pipe, which I thought that Epping was big, like 3 meters. Paran's 4.2. Huge, terrifying. Whee! The life story out of the way. Joe, in particular, asked AI to make him a song. AI is both amazing, but it's also terrible. It definitely makes things easier. Like, for instance, I'm no good at doing social media or organizing videos like this. AI isn't doing any of the work. It's not writing anything for me, but it is telling me to post this here and there and when and stuff like that. So AI is super handy, but if you're asking it to create music or art, you're basically asking it to recreate something that's already been created. So you're never going to get something truly inspired. In this particular instance, the result came back better than I thought. I wanted to get grumpy at it straight away. But it wasn't super bad. This is the AI generated song that Joe's made. Okay, it's not a person. I can rag on it all I like. Oh my god! I don't think it's cool to rag on other people's music. Just because you don't like it doesn't necessarily mean that other people don't like it. So music is entirely subjective. I listen to metal personally. Like, the music that I listen to could be described as horrible, and that would be a fair description of it, but I like it. It's what makes me happy. So, like, I don't know. Personally, I'm not into this sort of like hair metal sort of thing. Metal, to me, it's supposed to be strong and powerful and to fire you up. Especially when it comes to something like skating or something that's adrenaline based. What I was really impressed with was it's got words and stuff. Like, there's a voice singing it, and that's all AI. The voice kind of has some weird kind of grainy texture about it. Like, you can kind of hear, there's auto-tune based on an artificial signal. So, like, I think the machine isn't quite aware of what a voice is supposed to sound like. But, like, that is what normal production kind of ends with. I prefer something that's way more natural, but that being said, I pretty much always make instrumental music, so yeah, voice is slightly, totally out of my comfort zone, but yeah, I don't know. The main guitar thing, I mean, I haven't actually learned this one. Something like that, like, it's super generic. When composing for something, like, it's important to land in certain tropes, certain idioms of the guitar, certain things that sound like a particular style. That's cool, and it's fine to lean into, but, like, if doing something creative, try and make it creative. That's my theory. Okay, so we've got like palm muted guitar and not palm muted guitar. Like, the contrast between them is cool. The bass line, boom, 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 boom. You know, like we've been hearing that one since. How do I even play it? That's a classic. Don't get me wrong. That is an absolute classic. But it's already been done. You know, like. I don't play drums. I write drums. I love drums. But, like, can we do better? I do actually really like, you know, bearings and wheels under our feet and, you know, like the references to skate tricks and stuff. The problem that I'm finding is that a lot of the lyrics don't actually rhyme. Waxing rails for need? Yeah, okay, it rhymes with speed. Ooh, guitar solo. That was actually not as bad as I was expecting, but also like absolutely not creative. You know, like it's just pentatonic with an occasional bend in there. Like there is nothing new in that. You know, like I think the problem that I'm having is that we've got a song in a particular style. It has the tropes of that particular style. It has nothing new beyond the lyrics, which were obviously like sort of prompted and stuff. So Joe's had a lot of human input in that, and that's the best thing that's come out of it. All right, so that was made with Sund, S-U-N-D. I like it, pretty cool. You know, like it definitely stirred me up and made me want to do something better. So my dumbass said to the group, I can do better. Sometimes I gotta learn to shut my mouth, but in this case I was like, okay, I think I can actually deliver something that's going to be better than that. I thought to myself, what is skating to us in the group? Like we're all sort of 35 to 45 or I don't know, plus or take. So anyway, the majority of us grew up and we were most influenced by stuff in the early 90s or like in the 90s. So when trying to figure out what sort of music needs to go with this, it's very important to get reference material. The kinds of styles that be good, you know, grindcore because grinding, that's funny. Punk because, you know, like a lot of the old skate videos and stuff were punk. Steve suggested Boys to Men. I don't know, that sort of 90s sound. And so I think to myself, what makes that 90s sound? And so to me, you know, all I'm hearing out of it is that kind of two-stroke roll, like it's sort of like, think Blink-182 sort of drumming, a bit of a punk staple, like gatta, palm mute, non-palm mute idea. So if you've got a riff that sort of goes through a thing and then you've got an alternative ending, have it so that one time it's palm mute and another time it's not, or vice versa. That way you can have the same riff, but it feels like it's twice as much material when it's actually not, and you just change the end. Then trying to figure out what sort of tempo works really well with skate videos. And the way that I kind of see is that there's three three sort of speeds that kind of work. We've got slow and flow, which would be sort of like a 6/8 or something that's very slow tempo and very chill. And so you've got the contrast between high adrenaline and like chill music, which makes for a really satisfying watch. You've also got the sort of punk or rock sound, which feeds into the adrenaline. And then you've got sort of a grindcore or sort of fast punk or something that's a bit sort of heavier, which feeds into the adrenaline even more. Even though I feel like that's a really good idea, I haven't seen it so much, so I'm not going to go too hard with it. Everything's got to have power chords. Just, it's got to be built pretty much out of power chords. So the references, Pennywise, same old story. That like they went through the riff, they had ending 1, they went through the riff, then ending 2, they had a palm muting variation on it, and it sounded like it was a really long riff. Actually, not really. So, sort of steal a corner of that inspiration and steal their first note, but then make the rest of it so that it's different but in the same style. Right, so the song is called Possessed to Skate, and I'm not even going to mention the name of the band because for reasons of so thank you, Google. I really appreciate that there might be some people that a facility like this might help. I'm just looking for music, guys. I'm just looking for music. This is the other song. The tempo kind of does an interesting kind of push and pull thing. I don't know, the kind of goofy motions and stuff. I'm not sure I can totally get behind this, but I appreciate that it's sort of fueled on skate culture and whatnot. So step 1, I had the full clip. Now Joe sent me over like a full cut through, which be rolling. Now this just has a series of, us skating and the sounds. The sounds are all recorded from the camera, so half of the sound is actually from the person holding the camera, half of it is from the rider, which made it a little bit difficult to cut them all together. But basically what I was looking for was the sounds that are the most prominent. So things like, like that sound I wanted to be able to include in the mix, include into the song and make it a part of what makes the song. I wanted to have it so that it interacts with us skating. So anyway, what I did was I got all of the coolest looking parts and the coolest sounding parts, and I arranged them. So 2 things were important about this. Step 1 was the time that it takes to jump, land on the pole or the coping or whatever, and then land again. This all needed to be divisible by the music. So I also had to check the reference material. So that's around 180, give or take. Possessed to Skate by something tendencies, or a word that I can't say on the internet anymore. Anyway, I wanted to capture that because that's part of this whole feel. After doing a bit of measuring, I went for 180. Basically then mapped out a bar sequence. So if I had this many pieces, I had this many bars. So I ended up with a sequence that I could then write guitar and drums to. So I took a very, very, very basic quick map of both songs that were the references. So just a hand-drawn batch, like where it's going to go A, B, A, C, the palm muting bit, and then the second time around it's going to palm mute on A, B, A, and then non on C. A certain rhythmic component about it so that it's like chunked together and then like spaced out. Just a couple of basic guidelines as to the sort of key components that make this. And I ended up with a riff that sounded a bit like... So we have a fast-paced sort of punk riff that's very similar to the original. I kind of took the very basic feel of the original. The couple of moves that are very stylistically appropriate for this is the sort of two-stroke roll, and to get, you know, like these sorts of drum things that are in this music. So I just went and kind of copied all of the tropes of those. For those of you that don't know, I'm one of those guitarist bass players. I don't play drums, I just write a lot of drums. I've worked with some really cool drummers. This is not them. This is just me tabbing stuff out that I think is musical. Some of it is like a little bit challenging. I don't know, there's... Now, if I was to get a real drummer to play this, you do your own sort of fills. Like, I've put ghost notes in lots of different spots. That's something that normal guitar programmers forget to do. Sometimes you hit the snare harder than other times, you know, quiet, and then hard, and then hard. Like, you know, like that's part of it. So I tend to work with like 3 different sounds. We've got the muted snare sound, we've got the regular snare sound, and then we've got the rim shot, like the where you hit the rim and the snare at the same time makes totally different sound. So like that's a super weapon. Let's use that in all of the drum sounds that I've come across. The coolest rim shot that I've heard is actually Guitar Pros. You know, like with the drums, I write everything into Guitar Pro and then I export it as MIDI and then I send it over to Dylan. Dylan is my absolute champion, man. He just has the software for drums on his computer. So he's also got some really good skills in terms of actually putting it together. He can do it much faster than I can, and I really appreciate his help. So I fling things over to him, and I get back spanky drum sounds, which I can then mix in Reaper. Again, I use Reaper instead of Pro Tools because it doesn't crash and it doesn't keep on charging me money. All right, so the drum sounds that I've got back. Now that's not the normal sort of drum kit that I would run with, but it is stylistically appropriate for the whole punk thing, and as you can hear with all of the rest of the instruments. Fits like a glove. So the basic idea. Something like that, you know, like, and I had to refrain from practicing this and making it sound absolutely perfect because perfect is not what punk is about, you know, like it's supposed to be a little bit messy. And what I found, because, you know, I recorded this and I did a take where it was really tidy and then I cut it all up and I made it so that it was absolutely perfectly in time. And it sounded like the AI song, you know, like everything, there's no life in it. So, yeah. Some projects require you to play them and play them well. Punk and grunge and these sorts of things, if you refine them to perfection, they can lose a certain amount of their like magic touch. Also, I have a baby and not very much time, so my dumbass just recorded this really quickly. This is step 1. Practice a little bit, not a lot. In punk. In metal, practice a lot and then practice more and then practice more and then dream about it and then practice in your dreams and wake up thinking about practicing. That's how you do that. Same with classical and flamenco. The next thing, I don't know, I have a tendency to make everything way too complicated, and so I was like, how can I back off as much as possible? Again, it's the same riff, but just a different ending for the second time, and it makes it feel like the whole progression goes for 8 bars instead of just a simple 4. It's kind of 6 bars worth of content. The next thingamajig. Step 1 is we need something that's got that, like, because it's punk, man, it's got to have that. Step 2 is that in the Sea Shanty Take Me to Church thing, I was ragging on songs that don't have a key change. I'm not really saying there's a key change. What I'm saying is that I'm starting to use an F sharp instead of an F. So I guess it is kind of a key change, but it's punk, so we're not even going to call it that. All I'm saying is I wanted to use a couple of non-diatonic notes to the original riff. So now if we were to use the original F instead of F sharp, now it's still cool, but it's a very different vibe. It's not so like upbeat punk, skate, surf, sunny days. Like it's more dark, stormy clouds. You know, like that's a bit more fun. And then now in the Possessed to Skate video, the homework catches on fire and the kid's like, and it's just that kind of goofy motion just in guitar form. Then I wanted to basically do the same riff, but take the F sharp, bring it back to F. Now, bit of chromaticism in there. And then we've got the end theme. So that's kind of the guts of the main sort of guitar that flows behind it. What have I got to bang on about next? Bass. Now, bass is my favorite instrument. I'll run you through it. Now, bass, I had issues with my equipment. That's a bad excuse. A poor tradesman blames his tools. I'm blaming my tools. I'm a poor tradesman in this case. The strings were really old, which makes it sound a little bit dead. And double, unfortunately, there's this weird buzz that's going on. I need to get it repaired, but like everything in my life that is going right now, everything needs repair. So my bass has a buzz. My bass amp has a buzz. Both of these things shouldn't really be a big deal, but my tight-ass musician can't afford to fix those and two cars at the same time. So, yeah. Second choice of instrument, Fender P-Bass. Story time. Okay, so a little while ago, I had the joys of meeting one of my bass idols, Billy Sheehan. So, he is... I got a signature on a pack of strings. Unfortunately, they're not his signature strings, but they're the same brand that make his signature strings. And I got to hang out with him and Drew. A super humble guy, absolutely amazing human being, amazing musician, and really inspiring, because like normally the role of a bass player is to just sort of back everyone up. And this legend just absolutely shreds and plays a million notes and just does stuff that is so impressive. And people actually like it, you know, like, and so that was really inspiring for me, who has ambitions to play a million notes and to make really complex recordings and complex compositions. But, you know, to see somebody actually do it and have success with it. So he and Drew are both my sort of shred bass idols, absolute legends. And I put them on this bass. And I played them and I'm not entirely convinced that I like them as much. Like my normal brand is the Dario. I don't know, they're pretty cool. They had a pretty cool sound initially. That encounter was in 2018 and these strings are still on this bass. So yeah, that makes for a pretty dead sounding bass recording. When it came to actually recording the bass, all of the sort of, all the crazy techniques and stuff, they just weren't coming through on this instrument because the strings is like pushing everything uphill. So I tried to put in a couple of feature things. The rasgueados, this is a technique I learned in Spain. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then the chorus, you know, like this was pretty boring, so. Now, that would normally something dumb like that, you know, like that would be what I would normally play. But yeah, this strings, so I just kept it pretty basic. The guitar was recorded with an actual microphone. The bass was recorded just with a DI, as before mentioned, buzzing in amp and stuff. So I've really got to get that sorted. I will probably, hopefully do that later this week. It's already Saturday. I'll get onto it. The next thing was the extra visual cues. So in the video that I've scraped together, we have certain points where extra things are happening. In the skate park, there's like this little obstacle. The way that the sun hits it, it doesn't even cast a shadow. So if you're just hooning along and carving around a bowl, you might just crash into this thing and knock your teeth out. It's actually pretty brutal. Trick needed to be done, skate over it really fast, and if we've got footage of skate over it really fast, it needs to go with really fast drums. In music, it really speeds up or slows down. So in this case, we're doing double time, which just means changing the snare. So do get instead of do ga. So it's as simple as that, and then adding in extra bits around it. So we've got. So yeah, double time, half time, using these things to lead into it. The other thing, the extra visual cue in this one, Joe almost stacked. So I wanted the music to like almost stack. And so I've put in like an awkward triplet in the drums and like a bit of a pick scrape in the guitar and like a bit of weird vibrato or something to kind of lean into the fact. And then the second time when it's done and done well, I've had it so the bass then drops to on the beat instead of in the off beat. And altogether, we have something that really matches with the visual thing, but the visual thing isn't necessarily part of the end product. The end product is supposed to just be a song that can be used with a minute-long skate park guide for any skate park. This is the visuals that I was using to inspire it. So anyway, we've ended up with this in the song. Mixing, I tend to keep things reasonably simple. If you look through everything, we've got limiters on the sound design aspects to bring up the important parts. I've actually cut and then reduced the volume of anything that's not, needing to be right up front. The guitars, drums, and bass all just have like compressor, EQ, and then part of it gets sent to a reverb. But as you can kind of hear, reverb is not a strong point in this song or in this style. So it's mostly just really basic, just a little bit of compression, a little bit of EQ, or just corrective, just trying to make it sound more like what it was supposed to sound like in the first place. And the old New York bus compression, like that's such a cool trick. Okay, so bus compression. Off. By itself. It sounds crap, but added in. So it's small, but it's subtle, and it adds a whole lot of bold life. Whatever you've got, it makes it better. Just don't overuse it. It can be fun when you first discover it to be like, oh, let's stick heaps of it in. Just little touches work the best. The vocals. As I mentioned before, I do instrumental music. Like that's always my thing. Doing words is a totally out of my depth sort of arrangement. So I went through and I figured out a whole bunch of different rollerblading trick names, and then I tried to arrange them in such a way that they would rhyme. And I didn't want to make it so that the words would go through the whole thing. I wanted it to be slightly more sort of instrumental focused, but to still have the words in there because it adds a whole lot to it. So the lyrics that I've gone with, safety mute, Luking stale, rocket method grind the rail. Mistral acid hot dog soul, backside frontside, royale the pole. Rolling, grinding, talking, flying, friends like these, it's not surprising. Sharing, learning, teaching, grind, spin, hopefully not too much driving. And then I was like, okay, now I gotta sing it. I don't sing. I don't even sing in the shower. So I messaged off to Jono, who in an absolute legendary moment gave me a vocal track. So the lead guitar, I didn't actually write into Guitar Pro first. Normally I do. And normally that creates a particular kind of result, which normally I'm happy with. But I wanted to kind of go with something that felt a little bit more organic and a bit more natural. So the original one had a kind of lead guitar line in it. Cool, fair enough. A little bit of the solo, but the solo was just one guitar. Nothing sort of unique sounding or nothing interesting sounding. In this particular instance, I had a bit of a cool idea. It's just a guitar exercise. It's literally just a warm-up exercise, but I was like, what happens if I harmonize it in a unique way? So, not even a unique way, just harmonize it. First one. This is literally just a scale pattern. And you put this into 3 different positions and bang, you have this cool Metallica-esque sounding lead thing that's way cooler. If you know your scales, you can do it anyway. So normally 1-3-5 creates the chord, so we've got, so that's a straight 5th harmony, and that's a 3rd. So it's not doing any kind of counterpoint, it's just they're all doing the same thing. Melody is like the most important thing in music. It's the part that we sing in the shower. It's the most sort of catchy bit. Actually, I played through a few and I was like, I liked that general flow. So I recorded one of them and then I had to match the other one, just a string up, I think. Like it's just a 4th harmony. So according to the rules of classical, don't do this because it sounds bad. According to the rules of that sounds awesome to me. So in this song, in this style, most of it is like, you know, in this particular instance, I've used Jono for vocals. Like he's a metal vocalist, he is absolute legend, but it wasn't a melodious sing-song sort of song. And so I've tried to add that in the guitar and then also add layers of harmonies in it because that's just cool. That last line, I just recorded a big down run. It's just and so I wanted to start there because it felt like that was the good note to start on. But then as I started recording it, I was like, I have no idea where I'm ending up. I'm just following this program down. And yeah, anyway, it landed in the wrong spot. So I was like, what happens if I get it so that it just lands in the right spot? And we end up with... And then I was like, what happens if I just layer 2 notes ahead? And so this is actually the same sample. I've just cut the front out and layered it over the top of itself. And we have... Yeah, that's pretty cool. Like it's not perfect. this adds to the vibe and I like it, so I'm leaving it. Alright, at the beginning though, there is a sequence. Basically, you just wanted to go just I don't know, that actually sounds really techno when I say it like that. So what I did was I got all of the sound points of all the skate tricks and I arranged them so that they were going to line up with the transients on each 16th or every 8th note and then every 16th note leading up to it. Which also features at the end another thing. The 1 Minute Skate Park Guide have a system of rating the skate parks in VBs, and so this skate park gets 5 VBs out of the 6-pack, and so it needs a sound. It is actually really hard to sound design a can over the top of a punk band because there's so much noise, especially in amongst the skate sounds, in amongst the cymbals, in amongst everything. Like those smaller sounds, unless they're going to completely dominate the mix, are going to be almost hidden. So 1,000,000 points if you can hear it in context. Then I had to get everyone to do group words because minute long skate park guide or something like that to go with the first riff. Minute long skate park guide. Something like that. So I posted onto the group and I gave instructions with a microphone and when to sing, make me an audio sample and I'll turn it into music. And Joe was like, it's 1 minute skate park guide, not minute long skate park guide. And I'm like, anyway, 1 minute skate park guide. As you have seen, I've been making tabs of all of this, like it is in Guitar Pro format. So I've finished off all of the tabs, which you should be able to find in a link below. So what am I doing? I'm a composer. I've been playing music my entire life. I've studied composition. I've studied audio engineering. I want to be doing music for video, for gaming, for advertising at the bare minimum. I'm spending the majority of my time teaching. Don't get me wrong, I love teaching, but it's not the main end destination for where I want to be, and I'm not going to get there if I don't change things. So I'm trying to make these videos to get the social media thing and communication with the people that I need to network with to actually be able to make a living out of composition, which is my ideal. Take Me to Church as a sea shanty was kind of a trial to see what would happen if I was to make a half-hour episode and then break it into things. And I was releasing it onto TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. There's very little crossover, so if you've seen it on one of these things and you want to see more, it'll be on all of the rest of them. But I've also uploaded a full half-hour video on YouTube, so I picked this one as step 2. The first one, there was no collaboration to the exclusion of getting Dylan to do my drums. In this one, I got Jono to do the lyrics. The video and stuff has been provided by Joe. His whole thing is the minute-long skate park guide. So if I incorporate more people into it, every step will get bigger and better, and that's the direction that I'm kind of going. And I feel like the next step is the mega ramp. Yeah, the massive one that Nick's introduced me to. I want to put together a soundtrack so that they can use it, and anyone that's writing it can also use that soundtrack. So that'll probably be the next episode. Basically what I'm trying to do is put an idea that if you run a business, that professional composition, professional sound design that is better than what AI can do is a huge asset for your business and can be utilized. Now, while I'm trying to get my foot in the door, you can probably take advantage of me for cheaper than I'm worth if you have a project that you need this sort of thing for. In the meantime, I'm just going to keep on taking stabs at the dark until something takes off. Yeah, if you haven't checked out the sea shanty thing, just check out the main video. Like, yeah, it's a bit of what I do. This is a bit more of what I do, and there is plenty more to come. You might notice I'm not boxed into any particular style. I make music fun. All right, thank you very much for tuning in. Cheers for being awesome. To those of you who keep on tuning in to my videos, there's a small handful of you that keep on doing it, and I can't express my gratitude enough. I feel like you guys that keep on following my little bits, and when they come out, like you're in that journey with me, and I really appreciate your support. I really like having you guys by my side, so thank you. Figure out what I've got to talk about so that I can not say so many times. I will begin with. Alright, that's my mum.